Morning, morning. Jason King, Wild Squirrel Technology. Rob, space.
Did you want me to do that? Do you want me to? No, that's all right.
If you're an actor, don't work with children and animals. If
Yeah.
you're in IT, don't work with technology.
We don't work with real estate people. There we go. There we go. All right. So a little bit about me, my background. I've graduated from uni 1993, did a whole bunch of industry certifications along the way, mostly networking, IP telephony, some security in there as well. You know, with a lot of small business, and if you're not used to technology, you're not used to how it operates, you have a lot of moments where you're just looking at things going, what the hell is this? A lot of these areas, most cybersecurity, as everybody knows, huge topic at the moment. Claire O'Neill getting up there, banging her chest, going, this is what we have to do. We have to be the most cyber-secure nation on the planet by 2030, which is going to be a big ask, but they're doing a pretty good job of that. How to engage managed service providers. You know, a lot of people are like, I call my boyfriend, I call my wife, I call my partner, I call someone. It's not always sustainable. You can't do it all the time. And a lot of the times that bespoke advice, people who know what you've got, a lot of the time that's really, really important. Hiring IT staff. Kelly and I had a chat about this the other week on the back of her presentation that no one else outside the room heard. You know, how do you find the right staff? Because a lot of the times people can appear to be experts, but really they only know really 1 or 2% more than you do, and nothing that a Google search can't fix. So a lot of the time, but they're expensive. Help desk operators, I did a search yesterday. You can't get a help desk operator for under $80,000 a year. 80 grand a year for someone who's got less than 3 years experience in IT. So, you know, it can be challenging for small business. Rob? So, employing IT staff. Hands up if you can read that and actually understand what it means. So, IT systems such as our ERP system, warehouse management, customers ordering application and website. So that's ERP and stock, you know, front-end digital. Maintain the company's IT infrastructure, so servers, cloud networks, applications. So that's their back-end stuff. Technical support to staff, troubleshooting hardware and software issues. There's a whole range. We're really covering every single area: security, integrity of data, mentoring, monitoring, and incidentally, manage and monitor. Who knows the difference between manage and monitor? We'll cover a little bit more later. Does anyone know what the difference between managing and monitoring systems are?
I'm just going to take a guess here. I'm assuming monitoring is just keeping a track and recording things, whereas managing is taking action on said observations.
That's it. So monitoring is literally just watching it. We'll call you if something goes wrong, and then it's your problem to fix it. And people get caught out with that all the time because...
That's 20 grand, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, he's your help desk operator, right? I Googled it earlier. So you can see here, like disaster recovery and everything else. So all these things that they're trying to get people to do, no one can do all of these well. All right, so you need to be realistic about the role and what you're asking for, because you can't do ERP, mentoring, managing and monitoring, and maintenance agreements. You can't do all of that in one person, not to any real level. So, you know, check their LinkedIn profile, check their experience and certifications. If they say they worked for a company, doesn't necessarily mean that they did. You know, I had a guy apply for a role, I manage my brother's IT network. So, okay, great. So I found out what the name of the business was, looked it up. It was a laundromat, basically, that had one AP and a Netgear router. And it's like, well, what did you manage exactly? That's my home network. What are you on about? How does that qualify you to manage a company network? And he wanted 85 grand a year. And you're like, that's just not going to happen. So things like that. Junior techs, prone to mistakes and overconfidence. I can do it because I've got 2 years experience. I know everything I need to know. Senior techs won't want to change the photocopier toner or the printer toner, won't want to do the menial tasks that you get. So you have that real challenge with how do you resource this properly. And if you're not sure, get expert assistance. Find someone who's been through this before, someone who knows something about technology, has worked in the field for nearly 30 years, and understands what they're looking for and how to spot the bullshit. Rob, my favourite one, cybersecurity. So there's a thing called the ACSC, Australian Cybersecurity Centre. It's the Essential 8. And this is essentially what it is. If you do these 8 mitigation strategies, you significantly reduce the risk of a cyber security incident within your business, okay? Some of these people will recognise the words but won't necessarily know what they mean in context. So application control and patching applications, that's just if you've got your laptops on, set up automatic updates, let them do it whenever it wants to, and make sure you restart and shut down your machines on a fairly regular basis. Closing the lid just puts it in hibernate mode, doesn't fix any problems. Configure macro settings. These are generally disabled by default, so you really have to turn those on if you want to use them. There's no real reason to use them except in certain enterprise environments, so it's not really something you really should be worrying about. A lot of these things, so multi-factor authentication. Even Facebook has multi-factor authentication. If you've had your Facebook account hacked, turn this on every account that you can find it. You can get Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Xero has a multi-factor one, My GovID, all of these things. Get that multi-factor authentication set up because there are passwords, there are huge lists of passwords from wherever you've been on the web. They're all out there. So just assume that your password can be hacked. If it can, you need a second layer of defense, and that's what multi-factor authentication is. Any account that you've got on anything, certainly anything financial, or social media, should have multi-factor set up. And regular backups. That's just a no-brainer. You know, your photos can be, they're less likely to do it at home, but if they shut down your business, what they do is they go to your backups first, they encrypt those, then they find your operating data and they encrypt that, and then they send you a little note that says, you owe us Bitcoin. So that can save your business, and there are a bunch of people who can do that. Do you guys do regular backups? So it's a way of having offline storage that can't be hacked or can't be encrypted.
That's the important thing, is that third-party offline.
Yeah, make sure it's off your network. Make sure it's not directly connected through some back end. Business email compromise. So this is, hey, here's an invoice from someone you've never seen before, or hey, look at my resume. This is a big one for recruiters. They get done with this all the time. I'd like to apply for this role. Please open my CV. It's a PDF file with a link to a malware command and control server, downloads malware, and they're into your network. It doesn't take much to do that.
Look for that HTML tag, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're getting those emails.
That's it. So if you have automatic download, or automatic image download, if you turn that off, that's a lot. That does a lot for it as well, because that's how they open the connection. Medibank. Was it Medibank? Yeah, Medibank got done with this. So there was an email. LastPass was business email compromise. There's a lot of them. Nearly 80% of all attacks start with a dodgy email, some sort of phishing email. If your business can afford it, I thoroughly recommend engaging a company that will do phishing simulations. So they'll send your staff and yourself an email just randomly. Hey, please click on this link. Hey, can you please get this done? Something along those lines. That's how they get started. And then if you get clicked, it pops up a little page that says, you didn't do the right thing. This is what you should have looked for. There's a typo in, check the from address that the email has been sent to. Regular assessments of your environment and your laptop. This is more for companies who've got a few different platforms, say 10 or more staff, something like that. Something with a little bit more complexity to their environment. Any bespoke applications, front-end web applications, anything you've got that you've customized, make sure you get it regularly assessed for security. And then things like endpoint protection, Sophos, CrowdStrike, Bitdefender, they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. No one system is 100%, which is why for cybersecurity defense in depth is important. And I can't stress this enough, use a password manager, all right? Do not store your passwords and save your passwords in your browser, because they are well known and they are easily unencrypted, right? Or decrypted, I suppose. It's trivial for hackers to be able to decrypt those files. Okay.
That's no good, because when I help people out, they don't know their
Yep. So, all right.
Time's nearly up.
With respect to that, you know, LastPass had their.
Yep. The back end infrastructure.
So what
Yep.
password managers do you trust?
So 1Password is the one that I love. The reason for that is because the store is completely separated. It's stored locally on your device as well as in a cloud environment.
10 minutes.
But oh really?
Yep.
But there's no centralized like back end access into that system. It cannot be like, and it's encrypted in such a way that the decryption time for people like NSC or the NSA in America, ACSC and ASD in Australia, it's like in billions of years with all the computing power they have. So they're the most secure that I've seen. So 1Password. Version 8 is subscription. If you get a business account, you get like free personal accounts. So yeah, have a look at that. I know D. Wakefield uses it as well as a few other people, I think, in the group. Engaging managed services providers. So check the services agreement here. You know, a lot of the time you'll go through this, we've got a guy that does our IT. There's no defined services agreement. You've got response times and resolution times. Normally response times are generally, yes, we've got your email, we'll get back to you in a few minutes or in a few hours. But your resolution times can be generally a guideline because you don't know what the problem's going to be. It's hard to really commit to a fix if it's something that the vendor's doing or something they don't control individually. This is just an example. This is one for a company I've worked with in the past. This is around cybersecurity. So you've got priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. P3s and P4s are generally your low level. Hey, we've got a problem with this. It's not urgent. Let's get on with it. P1 is my business is shut down. I need you here straight away. So just be clear on what you need for that to do, because the more you push people on this, the higher your price is. You know, if you're pushing people for a P3 response time, here it's a day. If you're pushing them for an hour, well, they're going to have to drop everything, make you a priority client, so then the price goes up. If you don't really need that, then just be aware that that's an area you can drop back to reduce your pricing. It's a good area for negotiation. So now this is a common thing, support time per user per month. Quite often, I was working with a company recently who allocate 15 minutes per user per month as part of their pricing. So that's quick calls, can you reset my password? I can't get into this, my laptop's not working, my printer's not working. That's quite common, as long as that's aggregated and not individual, because there's no point one person having 15 minutes and then someone else, they're not using theirs, but someone else needs 2 hours of work. Just make sure it's an aggregate. So if you've got 10 people, that's 2.5 hours per month of service time. We covered this a little bit earlier, monitored versus managed. Obviously that is just, if we're actively managing something, we'll fix the problem. If we're monitoring it, we're just going to look at it and tell you something's gone wrong. And then on-site versus remote. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be remote support.
2 more minutes.
Okay. All right. Understanding your tech stack. This is something that I'm working with a high-performance coach at the moment, a friend of mine down in Melbourne. She has all sorts of problems, and I need to talk to John after this. Zoho, she's got a Zoho One account. It's got all these integrations, and she's working with this company who put it together for her, and then the one person in the company who knew her stuff left. So they've got no idea. She's paying an absolute fortune, $2,500 a year, $3,000 a year for Zoho. And she really just doesn't know how it works and why it's not working for her. So now she's not using it. $2,500 a year for something that she can't even really use. So just be clear about what you need these things to do. What's your customer journey for something like Zoho? There's an inquiry form, it goes through your CRM. How do the automations work? What do you do? How do you onboard? How do you set up meetings? All of these sorts of things. You need to be clear on these before you start looking out in market, because how do you know what you want if you don't know what you need? If this is how my business operates, that's how it needs to operate, and then I'll find a platform that does that not the other way around. Don't find a platform and then go, how do I make my business do this stuff? Unless your processes are shit, and then you can talk to this guy. So, what products you need for the large part, they'll fall into one of these categories: networking, security, sensors for people like Marion who've got buildings and assets, physical assets they manage. Manufacturers, coffee grinders, those kinds of people, coffee roasters, they have different sorts of sensors that will pick out environmental concerns or other issues. And then office applications, Word, PowerPoint, Excel.
Cool, last 2 minutes. Do you want to finish up with?
So this is the last page, I think.
Ah, sweet. Maybe
So then,
finish with how we can refer to you as well.
okay, perfect. So this is, then you've got, so the other last point here, of course, single source of truth. So don't have a CRM that's not connected to another system, not connected to that system. You've got customer data in 6 different places. You update one, you need it to update all of the others. Otherwise, you don't know which one is the accurate one. If you update this one first, and then this one over here, different thing, and that over there, none of them is 100% correct, and you end up with all sorts of problems in terms of, okay, I need to run a campaign. Okay, which group is right? Which one is right? How do I find the right data? So make sure, whatever you do, if you've got multiple different systems, try to avoid duplicating data, make sure they integrate. And if you can use automation, it saves a lot of time. Things like Zoho and Monday do a really good job of automating menial tasks, random tasks that are repetitive and easy to continue or to do in an automated way. Yep, moving on. Oh, and end. That's Wild Squirrel technology. Grab IT by the nuts. So, in terms of referrals, I'll work with anyone who's really struggling with their IT systems. I've known a lot of partners who can do cybersecurity, end-user compute, backups, and those sorts of things. Telephone systems, anything you need on that technology front, just reach out and we can get started. So there you go.
All right, Glenn will do